Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This is a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Black Lightning. So a big focus of this episode is Jen finding out pretty much everything. It's actually Anissa who is up, because it turns out Anissa didn't actually break everything down for her at when Jen came to her at the end of last episode. It's like, no, this is the episode where we get the whole breakdown. It's because Jennifer's freaking out because she thinks she's going crazy and stuff like that. But then Anissa tries to explain it to her. She's like, no, you're crazy, talking about you got superpowers, blah 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 blah. But then shows her what she can do. Then talks about no, it's okay, Dad's Black Lightning, and she freaks out even more. And at first, I couldn't 100% get why Jen was so upset about it. I'm like, really? Come on, you're finding out you have powers and everything. But she's getting all snippy because it's like, oh, Dad, you lied to me. I'm like, why are you getting so mad? But then again, it's like, in retrospect, it's like, well, I kind of get where she's coming from. Especially because she brings up some interesting points this episode. Because she's afraid of being considered a freak. Because for her, she doesn't want power. She just wants to be normal. For one, you're at that age, you're a teenager, life's kind of already hectic enough. You just want to you just want to live your life. You just want to have a good life. She doesn't want to do anything complicated. She doesn't want to save the day and be a hero. Anissa, dived into that completely. When she found out about powers, it's like, oh crap. She dived into it head first, but Jen is super freaked out about this. So obviously, an interesting, very different response to this whole situation. I'm curious what went through Jeff's mind. Was he more like Jennifer, or was he more like Anissa, and how he handled that? It's something that's kind of interesting. Obviously, Lynn's reaction to finding out about him. Oh, the way she talks about it, it's like, oh, she was all psyched for it. So she kind of had an Anissa reaction of oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. Obviously, she eventually grew to have this outlook kind of like Jennifer, oh my God, this is scary. So it's just kind of interesting how that kind of dynamic works like that when you actually, maybe that's just me overthinking it. I think that's kind of interesting. At least it's interestingly enough done in enough of a way that you could make that, it's not that huge of a leap to kind of make that comparison like that, but nevertheless. She also brought up some other good points because she was like, oh yeah, would she be able to even have kids? Which I'd assume she'd be able to. Just like I said, because Jennifer just wants a normal life and everything. But it's I think she would be able to. Just the only meta-human really knowing it, situation of being potentially a dad and everything is Barry. And I only say that because he has a grandson. Once again, I've talked about this before. I don't really know much about his children. I just know about Impulse. And then again, that goes in that situation well, Impulse has that whole situation of it's the Speed Force, so I don't know whether he's just innately a speedster, or is that more oh yeah, he was chosen because he is Barry's son, and because of just him being good-willed or whatever, that he automatically gives him the potential to become a speedster or to be potentially chosen, stuff like that. So not a great example. I'm assuming I think Superman has kids too, but different. He's an alien compared to a meta-human, whatever Jeff and his family situation is. So it's kind of I don't know, it's really hard to say because so far this series, I don't think we've come across a meta having kids. I don't think that's happened yet. So this is actually the first of its kind. I didn't even think about that till just now. This is currently in the canon of the entire Arrowverse. This is the first of its kind, his situation. Not only having one, but two kids with abilities like his own. So it's which I brought up last episode, manifested in different ways too, which is kind of interesting. It all stems from the lightning ability that Jeff has, but it manifested in different ways. And it's even something Lynn brought up. It's Jeff's powers just came out of nowhere. We don't know where they came from. I'd assume it has something to do with that vaccine. I would assume that's how all these other abilities manifested. But his dad didn't have any, so it's where did Jeff's come from? And I would only assume that it has to be because of this vaccine, but who knows? And it's it wasn't hereditary, so why would we assume that it was hereditary? So that's they thought maybe it just kind of stopped with Jeff, but obviously it turns out there's a lot more complications to this situation. Because Lynn brought up some good points about why not to tell Jen, because it's you were a kid at the time. It's last thing we need is you innocently enough, but as a little girl, you probably would have said something oh, my dad's Black Lightning. That plus it's as you got older, there was no point to tell you because Jeff stopped being Black Lightning. He didn't start being Black Lightning again until he had to rescue Jen and Anissa from the 100. So, but like I said, you do understand her concerns of just kind of wanting a normal life. And like I said, I get it because most people embrace it oh my God, I've got abilities and stuff like that. Obviously, not everyone, even in Arrowverse, not everyone's taking it like that. I think the best comparison would be Cisco. To be fair, Cisco really didn't come to like his abilities mainly because of how they came about because of Eobard, so that's why he was thinking oh, they were kind of evil, but he wasn't all for it. Caitlyn still like all kind of been on the fence about hers. So, but it sucks in Jennifer's case because she is she's, like I said, teenager at this point in time. Luckily, she has her family there to kind of help her through it. So I'm curious to see what goes on. Like I said, it is a situation of she's not going to embrace her power. She is just going to try and live a normal life. Sad thing is, I don't know how long she's going to be able to continue that. But that's also another thing too. She's going to have to keep that a secret from people, everyone, her best friend, the people she gets close to. Because it's also an interesting thing too, because she brings up the fact is like she's more reason why she's afraid of these abilities is like she knows they destroy relationships. Because what happened to her mom and dad? They got divorced because of her powers. What happened to Anissa and her girlfriend? Kind of happened because of the powers, but at the same time, maybe they ended up sparking something inside of her. Funny, lightning abilities, sparking her being thunder. Haha, I'm so funny. Wasn't even trying to do that, but while I was saying it, I was like, I'd go ahead and make that joke. Even though it's not a joke because I'm sitting here explaining and it wasn't funny, so... Nevertheless, it's just kind of an interesting, it gives you a very different outlook. Like I said, because most people are just like, oh my God, I got powers. It's the coolest thing ever. Like I said, Anissa, but like seeing Jennifer's outlook, I do appreciate that, making it like, it's a very different dynamic in the family of how they handle this. And I don't know, I think that's kind of a neat touch. Like I said, because it's like the first family of people with powers. So, but obviously other than that, in this episode, we had the whole situation with Anissa and Jeff working together to kind of remove this whole green light situation. They ended up working with Henderson, who had a feeling like he knows that Black Lightning wasn't behind all of this, but he's willing to help him. He said something that kind of shocked me. It was kind of like, okay, if I'm going to take some days off and handle this off the book because, there's corrupt cops there. But he's like, if I end up, dead because of this and then try to say that I'm a bad cop, I'm a dirty cop, make sure my family knows that that's not the case. And he's like, Jeff is like, no, that's not going to happen. I'm like, damn, dude, that's hardcore. I mean, because he knows with the circumstances, that's totally a possibility with this situation that like they try and smear his name just to make it so that anything he might have stumbled across wouldn't mean diddly squat, kind of run his name through the dirt, so luckily nothing like that happened, but it still could be a situation of like, they could be foreshadowing that for all we know, so. But luckily they found like the lab they were making green light in. It does seem like the people that were coming after him in this episode that were geared up, it looks like I would assume they're ASA soldiers. It does seem like they have equipment ready for Jeff too, because it's like they shot something and they were able to kind of shut his abilities down. They were wearing like tactical like armor and stuff like that. So, but they weren't accounting for Anissa there. So together the two of them took him down. It seems like Martin got away. I know the dude the actual doctor, the chemist dude who was actually making green light, obviously he got arrested, but it seems like Martin got away. So it's been taken care of. The lab's been destroyed, but who's to say there won't be more coming their way? Because I mean, they could always, it did set them back a lot doing that, but who's to say they don't pick up operations soon? I mean, plus, and it's something Jeff brought up to Anissa. It's like the moment we attack this lab, we're declaring war. That ASA group, Martin will be coming after them with everything he's got now, just because of them kind of blowing up his operation like that. Plus, it's probably going to attract too much attention, and he wants to keep this like all like low key under the radar. So he probably wants to shut this down quick so he can just move on from Freeland, kind of do what he needs to do, final touches, probably wipe this slate clean. Whether that means like wiping out the entire city like on a supervillain level thing, or whether it's just like capturing Black Lightning and Thunder and just bouncing. So, which speaking of Thunder, I love that Jim was kind of like, yo, you do know that online you have more like followers than Dad does, right? And she's like, wait, what? And it's like, yeah, people are like, yeah, you challenge like the patriarchy of like female heroes. And she kind of like, she starts feeling herself. She's like, oh, for real? Like kind of getting super into it. I love it. Obviously things between Jeff and Gamby still kind of on the rocks, but we did see Gamby going out of his way to kind of help them figure things out, because like he was getting information even when it was all said and done, because he was trying to figure out where the weapons came from that helped frame Jeff. Even going as far as poisoning one dude and then like giving him the antidote afterwards. But it's like the fact is he's willing to go that far also shows that he is sincere about this. Like, yes, he lied about stuff and kept secrets, but at the same time, it's like it's because he does care. That's probably why he took Jeff in, because he felt most responsible for getting Alvin killed, so that's why he just wanted to do what he could to kind of pay Alvin back, because Alvin was going to, obviously, as we learned last episode, kind of report on this whole vaccine situation. And obviously he hooked Anissa up with her new suit, which is a lot duller than I thought it was going to be. Like, I legitimately thought it was going to, maybe that's something that just hasn't been added as a feature yet. But I thought it'd kind of brighten up like Black Lightning's, because it's like his can be dim too, but it like when he's kind of charged up and it's just like the whole suit lights up. So I'm wondering, does hers not have that capability yet, or is it never going to have that? I would assume that it would, but like I said, maybe just in this particular episode they didn't have it. But nevertheless, it looks pretty sick, kind of, because obviously you can't help but have come across pictures of it before. It's just on the internet when I'm just looking up thumbnails for like these recordings and stuff. Like, I've come across it, but it's nice to kind of get the full feature of it. And now that I'm thinking about it, in those pictures, it's not like it glows specifically in those, so that might not even be a features of her, which is like, I feel like that's kind of a shame. But it's like, Black Lady's got his thing, she's got her own, so it's like, why get so caught up in it, so I also appreciate that, like, just like, oh, wish we could hear what they say, and it's like, oh, Nissa figured out. It's like, how do you know? It's like, oh yeah, because I know how to read lips. And he's like, okay, not bad. She's like, okay. He's like, I said not bad. Don't let it go to your head. It's like, come on. Like I said, I love that partnership already. It's just like, yo, kind of have to keep your kid in line. It's like, okay, you're smart, you're cool, you're good, but don't get big-headed, kid. I'm the one that's been running. I've been doing this game a long time, a lot longer than you have. So I might know a thing or two more than you when it comes to this whole superhero thing. So it was kind of interesting too that Anissa did kind of make a comparison between Jeff's situation with Jennifer and Jeff's situation with Gamby, because it's like, oh, you're mad at Gamby for keeping secrets. It's like, well, the same thing Jennifer is mad about you about. He's like, it's different. I mean, to be fair, it's slightly different, but at the same time, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, obviously he did it. It's a combination, because it's like, well, you kind of feel like you can understand why he did it. You can say that, oh, it's for Jeff's sake, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's also for your own sake. And, so I don't know. Who knows if they're necessarily going to kind of mend fences anytime soon. It might take a while before they are good again, so there was a line in this episode that kind of got me. It was like Lynn came in, and then Jim was kind of like, yeah, don't tell me you came in here to tell me you're Vixen. I'm like, wait, what? And I was like, and then she's like, no. And she's like, I might not have powers, I might not be Vixen or Supergirl. I'm like, okay. So that continues to mess with me, the whole situation, like, oh, which Earth this is taking on. The moment she said Vixen, I was like, oh, so this is Earth 1 then. But she brought up Supergirl, I was like, does that mean this is Earth 38? But I was like, no. I mean, because who's to say there's not a Vixen on Earth 38? But at the same time, I'm like, no. Like, Supergirl's been here on Earth 1 enough times to kind of blow up, because obviously there's like, Heroes and Aliens, she was here, and obviously during Crisis X, so like those were big enough things, especially like, Heroes versus Aliens, that it was big enough that like no one could help but not know that Supergirl is a thing. Those are two pretty big things to go down, and had took place in Central City both times, didn't it? Yeah, because I know the wedding was in Central City. Yes, all of Earth X took place in Central City, main parts. But it's like, did Heroes versus Aliens take place in Central City? I would assume so too. But nevertheless, I would assume that's the case. If not, like, because I feel like the Earth she'd be best known on would be 38. So that's why I'm kind of like I said, all my mind is kind of assuming like, nope, this is 100% on Earth 1. That's always been my thought, but I'm like, there's still a possibility of it being on a different Earth. I know it's a conversation that's probably like, oh, it's already probably out there apparently. Like, no, obviously it takes place on this Earth because of this, and that. But it's like, for me, without looking too much into it, just based on what I'm picking up, it's like, I would assume this is Earth 1, but that kind of makes me go, could this be like Earth 38? I don't know. Because I feel like there's no other Earths that really have a Supergirl or a Superman. So, not unless you were just referencing like, oh yeah, I'm just a Supergirl as in super space girl, as in a girl with super abilities, not unless that's what she was referencing. I was like, in this type of situation, you can't just say that, because like, if you say Supergirl, you're just all going to think you're talking about the Girl of Steel. So it's kind of like, So, nevertheless, that's my little tangent situation, kind of thinking about that. So, I'm very interested to kind of see this all going forward. Obviously, like this whole Jennifer situation. Obviously, things were good. Like, obviously, she had her problems with it, but she understands where everything was coming from. Like, she understands that everything her dad's done, even though keeping secrets from her kind of sucks, it was for the fact is of protecting her, and he knows it's not, an easy thing to deal with. But it does seem like they're all on good terms, so that's good. And kind of see that. Obviously, Lynn is probably going to be the most stressed out because it's like, oh my God, it's like she's barely getting attached to this whole Anissa having powers thing. And it's like now Jen has them too, and she's scared. And because the fact is that Lynn doesn't know a lot, because it hurts her as a mom and also as a doctor, because it's like, well, scientist slash doctor, because it's like, I should know, I should be able to help my babies, is, that situation. So, it kind of pulls at her in probably both situations. I also love the fact is, Anissa's like, well, you're lucky you found out about your abilities this way. Me and Dad had a fight. Well, I guess Black Lightning and Thunder. And then Jen's like, who won? And then Anissa's like, it doesn't matter. And it's like, oh, that must mean it wasn't you. Then I was like, boom, gotcha. That was kind of a nice touch. Also, we ended up finding out more about what Gambi did specifically for the ASA. It was more so a scouting thing. He probably didn't know it was he probably didn't know it was a situation of like they're capturing and killing them. He probably thought it was like part of some program of like, okay, finding people with abilities, maybe implement them into the organization or do something with them. Maybe like, oh yeah, maybe, use them for military purposes, which I'm still kind of leaning towards what this is all about. Typically what these type of things tend to be. So I'm wondering, is that what because Gambi ended up seeing like one boy that he scouted as well as like others, but they're dead bodies. So the question is like, I guess they're being studied and being kept. I guess it's just kind of like, oh, we let this happen. We can't let anyone know about this because once again, it would draw too much attention to this secret government organization that probably doesn't exist, or at least like on books and on paper doesn't exist, but secretly works from the shadows type of thing. So ultimately we have to wait and see more about that going forward. Like what that all entails exactly, because obviously that's kind of implying that's what's going to happen to Jen, Anissa, and Jeff if they end up getting captured. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm very interested to see where the next episode takes us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.